everybody, it is me Leo and welcome back to another video. Finally, it took me a really long time to finish this build, but today I am so excited to finally be back with another speed build, and this time we're building a house called the Quintessential Craftsman, and it is a craftsman style 3-bedroom, 4-bathroom home, and I'm super excited because in this build I got to use seasons. And first things first, I know what you all are thinking. It's been about a week since seasons first came out, and where the heck is my overview video? I talked about it on Twitter, but I actually recorded an hour-long overview / first impressions video on seasons, but I wasn't really feeling it. I really wasn't happy with the video. It was a really long video, and I just really wasn't happy with it. It wasn't really up to the standard that I established for myself, especially with my recent videos, so I just decided to not post it, even though I'm sure many of you guys would have liked to see it, but it is what it is. I've also talked about on Twitter how I am currently in the process of upgrading my internet. So for those of you guys who actually want my opinion on seasons, and for those of you guys who want to see gameplay on seasons, I will definitely be doing some live streams, maybe on YouTube, perhaps on Twitch, because I have a Twitch channel. I mean, I don't stream on Twitch, let me just get that straight, but I do have a channel I do have a Twitch account, because I watch other people occasionally, not as much as I watch YouTube. But anyway, why is this conversation about, social media and stuff? But you guys, I'm really excited and I'm really proud of this build. Actually, I am really happy. I really took the time to, make it perfect. I mean, it isn't perfect, but I did my best to just make it the best way it could possibly be. But anyway, before I move forward to pretty much rambling for the rest of the video, I do want to get a couple of things out there, because I do know that a lot of you guys appreciate some of the technical information and knowing some of the thought process that came into designing my builds. So first of all, I really wanted to make a greenhouse. No, not a greenhouse where, it's all glass and it's for plants. I wanted to make a house that had green wall paneling. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of options, so I ended up using this green wall panel. I don't know which expansion pack it came from. It might have even come with a base game, because I feel like I've had that paneling for forever. But I'm really happy that I was able to use the green wall paneling, because I don't see green houses, green colored houses that often in The Sims 4, because we don't really have a lot of options. I wanted to use the wall panelings that came with seasons, but they were honestly like a really strange color. Like I couldn't put my finger on it, but it didn't look like, a lot of them looked green, but a lot of them also looked gray or black, depending on what kind of mindset you are. I don't know, I couldn't make up my mind on what color they were, so I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna use something else. Also, I know that well, you know what, let me just talk about craftsman style architecture, because I just want to get out there before I ramble about this one little thing. But anyway, for those of you guys who are not familiar with craftsman style, well, it actually was an artistic movement that originated in the UK, and it was originally known as arts and crafts movement until it came to the United States, where it eventually became craftsman style. But basically, this artistic movement emerged as a response to the Industrial Revolution, where basically everything was mass-produced and people were losing their artistry and their traditional arts and crafts. Therefore, a lot of the proponents or supporters of this artistic movement came up with this style, not only in architecture but in many different art forms, such as in fine art, in furniture, in the decorative arts, and all of that good stuff. And they wanted to incorporate, the traditional humane element, which was lost in, the process of mass production. So that is manifested in craftsman style architecture through the exposure and use of structural architectural elements as decorative elements. So a lot of the structural components of architecture, which typically would be hidden and typically would be considered eyesore by a lot of people, are actually exposed and are actually used as decorative elements. And in this case, you guys can see that the columns, the beams, the trusses, and the corbels, they all contribute to the decorative aspect of craftsman style. So I really wanted to make sure that that aspect was represented. Now, the point that I was trying to make earlier was that one really specific aspect or feature of craftsman style architecture are columns that taper upward as you go up. So basically, in principle, I mean literally, columns that are supposed to be craftsmen are supposed to go narrower as they go upward, which did not seem to be the case with the columns that came with seasons, and that really bothered me. So I refused to use those columns because they were not appropriate to the style. It's a very specific, feature that I really wanted to have because we've had them in previous Sims games, and they weren't available, unfortunately. I don't know why they actually decided to make just a straight column, because it's supposed to be a very wide base, and as you go to the top it becomes narrower. I know it's a pet peeve, I know this is really irrelevant, but as an architect, or well, as an aspiring architect, that is something that really irked my nerves. So instead, I used a combination of columns and chimneys to achieve that effect. I think it might be weird, I haven't quite tested it out, but if you guys actually light up the fireplaces, I think that all of the chimneys that are inside the columns, they might actually smoke. So I don't know if you guys like it or not. If not, then feel free to just delete them. I don't think they, are that important if you want this to be completely functional, or you can just, not use the fireplaces, because I did put like a thermostat thing, which is one of the new items that came with seasons, and actually I did try to do the thermostat. I mean, I tried to test it out because I did test out like certain items that came specifically with seasons, just to confirm if they were. Oh my gosh, there's a very loud truck passing by. Anyway, back to my point. I tested out certain items that came with seasons that I wasn't quite sure if they were going to be functional or decorative, because I haven't really been following the hype of seasons. If you guys have been following me on social media, you would probably know that I have been staying away from, all of the news, because I wanted it to, unfold organically, and I wanted to discover things myself, because I feel like that makes things much better. It's just a much better experience for me. So I honestly only watched the first trailer that they released, and then I didn't even watch the trailer where they talked about the like holiday aspects. Once again, I might watch it now because I've looked at this expansion pack, and I've seen everything. I was surprised by a lot of things, and I was able to preserve that experience for myself. Nothing against people who are into news and the hype, but for me personally, I kind of just stayed away from it. So anyway, a couple of the items that I tested were the umbrellas. Seasons came with like an umbrella rack. That one is functional. I placed a couple in this house. I also placed a thermostat, as I mentioned earlier, and a flower arranging thing. I actually really liked how I incorporated that. You guys will see it a little bit later on. But for the interior, I actually posted a relatively lengthy Twitter tweet. This just goes to show how unsavvy I am when it comes to social media, and I'm really not. For the record, I really, I'm very well versed when it comes to social media, but I don't live in it. Like, you guys probably know by the amount of tweets I've been doing and by the amount of Facebook posts. Like, I personally prefer to talk to somebody, in person and, shake your hand, have a conversation with you. And I'd love to be able to do that with you guys when I start live streaming soon. But anyway, so for the interior, as mentioned in my lengthy tweet, I went for a lot of wood and natural tones and earth tones, and specifically warm neutral tones. The choice of flooring, I wanted to have a very rich wood all throughout because I feel like that's a very characteristic feature of craftsman style. And of course, a lot of the furniture and a lot of the decoration is traditional, and a lot of them are wooden as well, which once again is very typical of the craftsman style. So there's a lot of browns and a lot of Cherokee red. Cherokee red, am I pronouncing that correctly? But yeah, I really loved the dining room. Actually, we're done furnishing it at this point in the video, but I really enjoyed furnishing it because I think that was the first time I actually used a circular dining table. I couldn't recall a specific time where I specifically used a round dining table, so I was really happy that it actually came out well. Typically formal dining rooms have, rectangular, really large, long rectangular tables. But, in that case, I thought that, why not have a circular dining table just to mix things up? There's also a grand piano as well in the dining room. And, I put a little bay window just to, mix things up a little bit. Maybe, dispense with all of the symmetry. And then for the living room, it's just pretty cozy. I've used a lot of these items before. I feel like I have a propensity for being drawn to certain items. One new thing that I did do here is actually incorporate the TV in the fireplace, because this fireplace, it's beautiful. It's one of my favorite fireplaces ever. It came with pets, but you can't put a TV on the mantelpiece. I don't know if this is a common practice in, colder countries where you put TVs on mantelpieces, because I understand that the fire hazard, but I live in a tropical country, so what do I know? So I just put it on the mantelpiece. And that fireplace has a built-in mirror, which I don't know if it is actually functional, so that's a thing. Also, this living room, interestingly enough, has a lot of functional items like this chess table, and also the only bar in this house is actually located inside of that globe. I like to use that if I have no way of incorporating a bar. And in this case, the kitchen was just way too small and there was nowhere else to put a bar, so I just used the cop-out method and went ahead with using that globe, which your Sims can use to, have some, I guess, alcoholic drinks or just drinks in general. But yeah, the kitchen is really small. Outside of the kitchen, there is a little hallway, and that's where I put the thermostat thing. I had to edit out the footage because this video was just way too long. Also, in that hallway, there is a fish tank as well, so that's that. But even though it's quite small, I was actually really happy with the kitchen. It's a little bit excessive because I ended up putting 2 stoves, I think. yeah, I think I ended up putting 2 stoves, so it's a little bit excessive, but you know, it's a very middle class house. It's maybe a little bit more upper middle class, if I do say so myself. So I think it makes sense to have something like this. Also, if you guys are having problems with the fact that this house only has 3 bedrooms, despite the, you know, relatively affluent or seemingly affluent inhabitants, well, there is a lot of space to actually do other things which can easily be converted into bedrooms, and this is one of them right here. This is actually more of like an office / painting room. You know, I imagine one of the inhabitants, I love how I'm using that really big word. Anyway, see, I lost train of thought. But anyway, one of the inhabitants, I imagine, are a painter, of course, and I don't know, I imagine them to be a little bit more on the creative side, so, you know, they might like to paint, and this is a perfect place for them to do so. And I also went ahead and made it into like a legit office, so there is like an L-shaped desk, which you guys will see me come up with later on, and you know, some bookshelves, and just, you know, some functional stuff for, you know, a functional office. And yeah, they also put a couple of clutter items you guys will see later on. So yeah, I think I also put 2 flower arranging things at some point. I mean, you guys will see it later on, but so doing the floor plan for this was actually really a challenge, because I had so much space where I could have not have, and then in some places where I wish I had more space, it was just a hot mess. But you know, I was able to deal with it, and I was able to I think I was able to create something that's really awesome, and I'm really happy with how it came out, as I mentioned earlier. But right now we are working on the master bedroom, and I'm really happy with this room. It's a very large room. It also has its own walk-in closet and ensuite bathroom. I think all of the bedrooms actually have en-suites, now that I think about it. And then there is one guest bathroom that is a full bathroom as well. So it's a pretty substantial house. You know, you won't see any queues on the bathrooms because there's just a lot. But anyway, back to the topic. The master bedroom, it's very well furnished. There's a lot of expensive stuff. I could have used beds that came with seasons, but they were a little bit too modern for my liking, so I went ahead and used a bed that came with pets, or cats and dogs, but you know, I just have grown to call that pets by default, so it's pets for me. But you guys will notice that a lot of the furniture in this room is actually very reddish orangey wood, and I don't know, it's a really rich color that I like to use in my builds. I use this floor in my modern builds, I use it in my traditional builds as well, so I think it just gives a very rich you know, aspect to this whole build. But here you guys can see me incorporate these chairs that actually came with seasons, and these ones are sets. I mean, obviously they are a set because they look exactly the same, but yeah, there's the little sitting area over here in front of the fireplace, and I don't know, I just really liked how it looked overall. And I also felt like this area behind the bed was a little bit bare, so you know, I thought about putting like a painting or something, but in the end I went with curtains. So the bed technically is supposed to be a canopy. Well, it's a canopy bed, and it also has some curtains behind it, which I feel like make it look a lot more glamorous. So moving forward to the next bedroom, I've actually done some adjustments to this upper level to accommodate everything, because I wanted to make sure that there was enough space for everything that I wanted to have, so I had to increase the size of the walls. One of the things that I had to deal with was the fact that in some cases, the roof was actually a part of the wall, and it wasn't possible for me to change the wallpaper on the roof itself without changing the wallpaper on the roof outside, if that makes any sense. So I just didn't change it because I wasn't too bothered by it. I just thought of it as more of like a feature wall that was wooden and was exactly the same as the color outside. But for the guest bedroom, it's very rich and dark. I like to think of it as a coffee color, maybe a little bit fall themed in terms of the color scheme. It's not like literally fall where like everything is, autumnal and there's like all leaves everywhere and stuff. I'm flailing my hands for some strange reason, I don't know. But yeah, I had a lot of space. Like all of the adjustments that I made probably gave me way too much space, so I was struggling a little bit with what furniture I was gonna furnish this. So since it was a guest room, I just put some random non-personal stuff because it has to suit everybody's needs at some point. The most important thing for a guest room is to be there in case the need arises, and I think it works that way exactly. So right now we're actually working on the kids' bedroom, and this one has a sort of wintry theme. I don't know why, but I just went for some cold colors just to have a little bit more variety and diversity and in the color schemes that I have for this house, because literally I think every single room except the dining room has like a warm colored wallpaper, so I wanted to mix things up a little bit. Also, I edited out the footage of me furnishing the bathrooms because all of the bathrooms have exactly the same wallpaper and floor and a lot of the same furniture as well, so I just decided that they weren't necessary for this video. But I really enjoyed this bedroom, I have to say. These beds came with seasons and they're beautiful. I had to use them. And I think they work really well in this room. Everything sort of matches, but also not really, because, everything isn't exactly like the same color. I mean, everything is the same color, but, there's like some sort of variety at least. And I think that the color scheme is what pulls everything together. There's also quite a luxurious room for the kids because they have a flat screen TV. When I was growing up, I slept with my brother in my parents' bedroom. So they're in order to have room for all of us at home, we had two beds that were smooshed together, and I don't know, it was a really fun and amazing childhood, and I'm really happy that I slept inside my parents' bedroom until I was about 15 or 16, where I moved out to another bedroom, of course. But anyway, back to the topic. I think that the kids in this household are pretty spoiled. I imagine them to be twins or maybe like roughly the same age, but they have a really big bedroom. They have a lot of toys. They have a console in their bedroom, which is amazing. I would have loved that, but growing up, even as a teenager with my own bedroom, I had to play video games in my parents' bedrooms because that's where they had the console. So they were generous enough to give me a TV though in my room. But anyway, what's really special about this room is that there's a separate sort of study area / creativity, artistic play area, because the actual play area is in the bedroom, but there's this area right here that I made specifically for the kids to be creative and to be artistic and to be messy, because I was a really messy kid. I played with a lot of paint and I made a lot of mess. I grew up with a brother. I mean, I only have one other sibling, but the both of us were really rowdy and rambunctious scamps, if I do say so myself, and we were really messy and we made a lot of mess, and I would have definitely benefited from this kind of room because, you know, I would have been able to express myself creatively or artistically and, you know, not worry about the mess I made. Because we loved doing arts and crafts, paper maches. My favorite show growing up, well, one of my favorite shows was Art Attack. If you grew up in the early 2000s, you would know what I'm saying. And not the new Art Attack, the old one with, like, was his name Dave Buchanan? I think it was. Oh my gosh, my childhood. But that is it pretty much for the interior, and now we are adding this really interesting feature that actually puts a smile on my face every time I see it, and it is sort of like this greenhouse slash shed area. I don't even know if this is gonna be functional because I don't know if the indoor part of this roof is technically considered indoor, but I did place one of the flower arranging things inside of that, and I just made it into kind of like a, you know, greenhouse to store some you know, some plants that are probably sensitive to, you know, fluctuating climates. And also, of course, to keep plants for the winter. There's a couple of planter boxes inside, and I also, yeah, there's also like the gardening, well, it's not the gardening thing, it's the flower arranging thing. I have two of these actually. I also put another one in the porch. You know, but this is a great place for the Sims to, you know, just, you know, have fun. Well, obviously they can have fun anywhere, but this is a great place for them to, you know, do their flower arrangements and all that good stuff. I'll maybe do a little bit of planting as well. It's a little bit tricky to actually play with the roofs, so I suggest that you guys play with the roofs or with the walls completely down, because that also kind of like shuts down the roof. Like, all of the roofs disappear if you have all the walls down. So, you know, that would make it possible for you guys to actually click on the items, because I had trouble with that while I was, you know, trying this build out. You know, I'll test it out a little bit more as you know, this video is uploading, and I'll make the necessary adjustments as we move forward. But I was really happy with that area. Actually, I'm really happy with this area in general. It's kind of like the gardening area. It's a very nice shaded kind of nook on the side of the house, and overall it's really nice. I wish I could have shown you guys the part where I was decorating the like green shed, because, you know, I was able to actually look at a lot of the items that came with seasons, and, you know, there were beautiful items. So much stuff that came in seasons were actually flowers and like garlands and flags and stuff. Once again, I'm not well versed on seasons because I haven't played it that much yet, but, you know, building using seasons, I definitely noticed that a lot of the stuff that came with seasons are, you know, like flowery things, and, you know, that made me super happy because I'm not sure if I've talked about it before, but my mom actually is a florist by hobby, and all the flower arrangements in our house were made by my mom, and they're everywhere, from, you know, kitchen counters to everybody's bedrooms. There's flower arrangements everywhere, to her living room, like everywhere, and she's really proud of them. She posts them on Facebook and stuff, and it just makes me really happy, and that just made me really happy seeing that there's so much flora that came with seasons. As far as build and buy mode is concerned, there is no plants, I believe, that came with seasons, but technically all of the plants had to be reworked to work with the changing climate, so that's also a thing. But anyway, for the landscaping, I kept everything quite natural. You know, I made sure to use appropriate looking plants that look you know, appropriate for the climate. And yeah, there's this little pool area and kind of like outdoor dining area as well. And there's also a large porch. The porch in front and on the sides are in the front and in the back, and there's one on the side as well, but you know, they're quite large, so I did put some seating areas and some furnitures in them, so you know, there's a lot of places for your guys' Sims to hang out and just have a chat. I really wish that we could control the Sims in first person. That would have been so awesome, but pretty much the last thing that we're gonna do is this kind of like campfire area, which I feel like might be a little bit too close to these trees, but you know, they don't set the trees on fire. But yeah, I'm really liking that little area right there. So that is pretty much it for this build. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you guys want to support me, you guys can do so by subscribing to the channel, liking the video, and leaving a comment, because I love to hear from you guys. Okay, so watch out for my live streams. I'm looking forward to that, and yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up right here. You guys have an awesome day. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye bye.